Yeah, I don't know where to start or how to start this video. To be honest, I've been kind of trying to write an outline for this review for Michael, but it's just been kind of strange, kind of trying to put everything in bullet points. But you know what? Screw it. We're gonna go a little bit super crazy, and I'm gonna kind of like dissect the controversy behind this film, while also kind of like taking my own personal experience with the biopic that I'm going to see in a few hours. But let's kind of like dive into some of the stuff that I want to formulate in my mind first. So basically, this new Michael biopic is coming out this weekend, and I kind of want to like talk about it in depth, especially since now it's been over a couple years since it's been in production. I want to kind of like talk about some of the stuff that has been happening pre and post production of the film, and I just want to give my own personal take behind the whole reviews for this film, the fandom, and just like everything in general. But basically, we got to kind of start from like the beginning of the production behind this film, while also talking about the whole state of Hollywood with biopics. Personally, for me, I'm really a fan of these types of biopics where they're really showing the depths of an artist's career. Specifically, some films like Elvis, Better Man, and Rocket Man. Those films really had their own kind of like style and substance attached to the artist's portrayal of their lives. While films like Bohemian Rhapsody, the Springsteen film that came out just last year, even the Whitney Houston film that came out a few years ago, those were pretty much like straightforward Wikipedia bullet point type of films where they just go like bullet point to bullet point all of the big moments of an artist's life, and they don't really take the time to really develop the actual artist, their arc, or just in general the whole experience of their lives. But for me personally, I am looking more for films that actually either take another direction where they're experimenting with the artists' lives, with especially Better Man, where you have Robbie Williams who is playing himself, but in a way where he's a chimp, an ape, a monkey, an animal stuck in a cage trying to get out. And then you have Elvis, which is entirely Baz Luhrmann's forte of style of filmmaking. And the way he made Elvis was he really like did the whole pizzazz with like the frenetic editing and really crazy montage sequences in the film, while also trying to please everybody. But when we have those types of films where they're experimenting, they're really doing the most and really trying to put another perspective of the character or the artist's lives, you kind of have the sense of like feeling of beauty and just joy seeing like the artist grow and kind of see a perspective that you haven't seen before. And to counteract that, Bohemian Rhapsody, that film did absolutely nothing as far as really going deep into Freddie Mercury's entire career. Instead, it was just a bullet point Wikipedia film. And the producers behind Michael is doing this film, and they did Bohemian Rhapsody a couple years ago. And from what I heard with a lot of the reviews and just the overall chaos of like the production behind the film, we start to really notice that they're just there to kind of like cater the audience's attention with just doing a bullet point adaptation of Michael Jackson's entire career, instead of actually honing in one, you know, specific moment or one era of his life that kind of like changed him. And from what I've been hearing and what I've been reading over the past couple of days, it just doesn't do that. And also on top of that, we have to also consider the fact that the controversies behind this film really start to really boil up once you notice that the entire third act of the film, especially the second part of the movie, which is coming out maybe next year or the year after, had a lot of these scenes where Michael Jackson was really going into the court trials and other allegations that were happening around that time, especially the SA allegations. And yeah, that's when you start to really try to understand why that is and why the producers were just like, yeah, we don't want to do that. And also on the top of that, they couldn't do that because it was part of the kind of litigation that unfolded a couple years ago when one of the accusers tried to accuse Michael Jackson of SA, and then eventually they can't really talk about anything in media portrayals of Michael Jackson at that time with that specific victim. But again, like, I feel like what I'm going to see in this film in the next few hours is a film that might be either a Wikipedia entry film where it's just doing a bullet point to bullet point type of film, or it's actually just going to do something completely different. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I will say this. Part of me really wants to kind of have a sense of grace and honor with Michael Jackson's career, especially since now, long gone, he's gone. There's been just a lot of stuff that has been happening as of late with like the accusations, and then also just at the same time, the milking of the product, the Michael Jackson brand. You have a musical that came out a couple years ago. You had the Circus Delay musical or stage play from a long time ago that came out also as well. And then also at the same time, you just have the whole estate who is just money hungry for more Michael Jackson content. And yeah, like when you do see the trailers from this film, you start to really notice that, yeah, this is basically just a product or an extension of the estate full of potential. And part of me is just like, yeah, I rather, take something that's more artistic as far as making a Michael Jackson biopic, especially now that we know that Antoine Fuqua is going to direct both of the films and he is the helm of the film. He's basically a journeyman. He's the right-hand man of the corporations, and he's only there to say yes to the yes men. So, of course, once you really start to boil that in, especially with Antoine Fuqua's entire filmography way past Training Day, you start to notice that he's just a journeyman, a guy who just does stuff, and a lot of his films don't really miss that much of a mark, especially the Equalizer movies. But yeah, man, like I'm just kind of rambling on, but I really do think that this, with like the controversies, the fatigue of biopic films, especially with musicians, and then just the whole controversies and fan-led, like driven anger behind just how people are criticizing the film for being, just another generic biopic film. That all kind of like boils into my kind of main point that I want to address in this intro, is the whole idea of anti-intellectualism, where basically we're currently living in a time where nobody is reading in the lines as far as figuring out different perspectives, reading into different types of filmmaking languages, and really kind of critically thinking about people's ways of viewing media. We are living in a world where people just read the headlines and that's it. They don't read the reviews, they don't, listen to people's other perspectives, they just, do their own thing and they live in their own bubble. We've seen this time and time again over the past couple of years, especially with big movies that have come out, like Emilia Perez that came out a couple of years ago, which really dived deep into the woes of the Mexican cartel and also transitioning from male to female and that whole kind of journey. And it was more of like an expressive, extravagant, and also very campy take on the subject matter.
Hello, very nice to meet you. I'd like to know about sex change operation. I see.
And a lot of people were, angry about that. Rightfully so for some moments, especially with like the language barriers and the different types of dialects the characters and actors used in that film. But also at the same time, what I'm trying to also really pin down with like this topic of intellectualism is you have Funko Pop critics who are being invited to these screenings. They're, there to watch the movie for the first time. And if you don't know anything about it, well, slightly, but a lot of them are just there to be the yes man for the big studios and corporations, so they can, put the big review headline, quote on a lot of like the advertisements. And what was really funny to me was seeing Matt Ramos, Soups, which is a guy who does superhero content, especially Marvel movies, him saying that the Michael Jackson biopic is one of the greatest musicals or musical biopics of all time, which is hilarious to me because it reeks of one guy who just doesn't watch a lot of movies from different genres.
Yay!
And it's just a guy who got paid to see the movie for the first time before anybody else, and is just there to say yes. But yeah, like I've encounter a lot of these peoples and a lot of these individuals, and yeah, like it's something that needs to be taken accounted for or to, because when you have somebody who is very limited in their scope of perspective and understanding of different film languages, you have to really kind of try to find a way to give them a lot of, what I'm trying to say is more of just a pushback against the closed-in nature of just limited world points and world views, if that makes sense. Sorry, it's just kind of like a little word salad that I'm having right now. But yeah, man, like I've seen this a lot lately, especially on Twitter, where Twitter is basically just a place where you can just rage bait and be, very angry at one simple thing, and you can make money off of it. And a lot of the MJ fans are doing that. They're attacking a lot of people, journalists, critics who actually have accreditation to their merit and are actually critically thinking about the art that they're seeing and really trying to make the audience kind of think more about their perspective. And just seeing the MJ fans like crash out when the Metacritic score and the Rotten Tomato scores for this film slowly dripping and dipping down to the low 30s, and I think also the 40s for Metacritic. Just seeing that like yesterday, witnessing all of that was just hilarious to me, because these are the same people who probably just watch 3 movies a year, don't really have a thinking of other perspectives or other film languages, and they're just there to kind of come and jerk off all of the fan service of any film, especially if it's like a favorite artist of theirs that they're trying to make a movie out of. But yeah, like it was just really funny to me to kind of see all that happen in real time. And again, I just kind of want to really kind of talk about that, because at the end of the day, I think intellectualism is slowly dying. We as a people aren't really critically thinking about the media that we are seeing right in front of us. We're just, taking bullet points. We're looking at other people who don't have that type of worldview and are actively trying to make something out of something that's not really there. Especially, for example, the critical drinker, who is notorious with just spewing most misogynistic and racist shit on the internet and kind of like coding it in a way of like dog whistles. And you can kind of tell when you start to really watch his content that, yeah, this guy doesn't know anything about different perspectives, different worldviews, different film languages, and he's just there to rage bait, and he makes money off of that. And a lot of people enjoy that content, and I don't. I'd rather have someone who has more of an expansive view of things, and I'm there just to kind of like listen to their perspective and kind of like take that perspective and see if I can, try to move forward into thinking better about media. And that's literally the entire point of criticism, film criticism, media criticism, just anything criticizing the arts. You're there to just, consume, really think about what the media or type of media is trying to say, and then trying to, let those thoughts out in the open. And I think, again, just going back to all of this, the whole meltdown of just like the reviews dropping and like the embargo dropping and just everything going down was just hilarious to me. And I can just tell right away that this film will probably get some good, audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes, mostly inflated because there's millions of bots paid by for other types of means and farms and places where, they are there to inventicize and also destroy the discourse, the actual real raw discourse. And this is kind of the final solution of the internet, is having bots and AI take over the internet word landscape and cause the whole thing where there's no real opinions and thoughts on the internet. It's just basic anti-intellectual conversations that are going on. And yeah, man, like this was just, it was just hilarious to me to see all of that unfold. But yeah, man, like that's just like my intro to this review for Michael Jackson, or Michael 2026. We're gonna kind of cut a little bit forward to Future Jack, where I saw the movie and I'm, talking about what I liked about the film, what I didn't like about the film, and just some other stuff. I don't know. But yeah, like, let's kind of transition to that. Okay, so here's the thing. So I just came back from the movie, and honestly, I have a lot of thoughts about this film. Starting from the beginning, I think this movie does a really good job kind of doing like a slideshow of Michael Jackson's entire, well, half of his career, because it basically ends in the bad era, or the beginning of the bad era, where Michael Jackson is playing one of the big songs from Bad, and he escapes Joe Jackson's evil cartoon hands. And basically, even way before that, the beginning of this film starts out with the Jackson 5 at their peak. And it's just a whole thing where it's just a slideshow of just like the ups and downs of the Jackson 5, eventually transitioning to young Michael Jackson in his teenage years when his career at Motown is kind of spotty. He's just covering songs for other Motown artists, and he's trying to figure out himself. You get like a small glimpse of that. Basically, the whole movie is just small glimpse of things that could have been completely expanded, but Antoine Fuqua and the estate rejects any of that. Instead, it's just more of like a catnip situation with just giving you small contexts and not going super deep into those contexts. But with that in mind, even with all of the baggage of like a biopic film where it's doing the Wikipedia entry bullet points of just all the, you know, stuff that happened with Michael Jackson in his entire career up to, you know, the Bad era, I was still like taken aback by how culturally and also periodically accurate the actual, you know, film is. There's a lot of like great moments where you're seeing the costumes and the makeup becoming alive, and at a point where you're just like, oh wait, this actually does feel like you're really transported back to the 80s, you're transported back to the 70s during these like pivotal moments in Michael Jackson's career. And on top of that, you have Jafar Jackson, who's playing Michael Jackson, and he is uncanny to a T. His performance is just basically artificial, waxy, and completely just a clone of Michael Jackson. I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Jackson's body was frozen, unfrozen, and then thrown back into the hell of Hollywood to make a biopic about his life. That would be kind of funny, but yeah, man, like Jafar does a really good job portraying Michael, despite the script being only pigeonholed to just the bullet points of Michael Jackson's life, and the only, you know, script dialogue of saying just, oh, he's the greatest thing ever, I'm the greatest artist alive, and just repeating that same thing over and over and over again until the final act of the film, where it continues doing that. But now you have Michael Jackson stepping up from his father, who is played by Coleman Domingo, who actually looks like a California raisin meets Rick James with like the wig and like the makeup job in this film. He looks very chocolatey. But yeah, man, like it's really funny to see Coleman Domingo turn in like a villain cartoonish performance in this film. The rest of the cast has nothing to do, especially Nia Long, who is playing the mother. She's more of a passive role. She's just there to, you know, comfort Michael around like his whole life, especially when he starts to get really lonely and he doesn't have any friends. So he's just, you know, befriending all these pets like snakes, like he has a llama. There's also a big moment where he adopts Bubbles, a CGI Bubbles, which looks terrible. If you have seen the film, I would have liked, you know, a real chimp, but that costs money, I guess. And there's also a really kind of crazy moment, especially towards the end, with one of the pivotal moments in Michael Jackson's life when his scalp got burned by the fire or the sparks of the Pepsi ad that he did. And the CGI fire is just hilarious to look at because it's so like not finished. But aside from all that, and aside from some of the unintentionally funny moments, especially towards the end with the whole kind of turn of Michael Jackson stepping away from like his father's dominance over his career and turning himself into, you know, a single man, a guy who just wants to be solo for the rest of his entire life. There's a moment towards the end where the victory tour happens. He goes on stage and announces that this is going to be like the final tour with the brothers, and you see Coleman Domingo, or Joe Jackson, his portrayal, the way he's just looking at like Michael Jackson, he's looking like, holy shit, what the fuck? He's like that guy who was driving without a license while he was on trial for not having a driver's license, and he was just going like the whole time while the judge was just like, you're driving without a license? Like, what the heck? Yeah, I'll put the reaction like image there. But yeah, basically that whole scene was just hilarious to look at, and there's other kind of like silly and just kind of cheesy moments in the film that could, you know, tug a lot of heartstrings, but for me, I could see through the bullshit, and I was just like, yeah, this is very like superficial, artificial, and entirely manufactured to just please the masses and not really challenge the masses. But aside from all that, me personally, like, I understand that you can't really please everybody with this type of biopic where you're doing all of the, you know, bullet points of artist's career. But I think you could actually take the liberty to at least try to pull something from like Michael Jackson's life, like the skin disease that he got. There's a moment where he's in, you know, the room, the surgery room, where he's about to get the nose job, and the doctor's talking about the skin disease that he has and how it's just, it's fine, it's normal. But you don't really hear or see anything else from that. It's more of just like, oh, this is probably just a tease of part 2, which, mind you, I know if I'm going to be that guy who's just like, oh, we should just wait for part 2 to see the fuller picture, but no. I think the second part is just going to be the same as the first part, where it's just going to do the same thing over again, but this time around it's going to skirt away from like any of like the allegations, the sexual abuse allegations. It's just focus on like the Sony case and just like the downfall of Michael Jackson, where he was just tired of his shit and he just, you know, reclused himself until his death. I think that's how the film's going to go with the second part. And again, there's moments and bits of, you know, Michael Jackson's life that could have been explored deeper and more broader, but the film rejects all that, and Antoine Fuqua and the estate rejects everything with that in mind. But yeah, man, like, I was just slightly disappointed by this film. I think it's totally just okay. It's one of those films where you just passively watch it and then you get everything that you need and you just trash it and move on. And I think for a lot of mega fans, they're not going to do that. They're just going to be like, oh, this is like the best film ever, blah, 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 blah. But me, I'm just like, we could have had, you know, something better. We could have had something that felt more genuine and more kind of lived in my opinion. But instead we're, you know, feeding to the slop, feeding to the pigs, and we're just, you know, doing the corporate thing. But yeah, I give this 2.5 out of 5 stars. As far as, you know, awards potential, I think the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice nominations could happen, but I highly doubt it. It's April. Usually these types of films fall apart once the fall season hits and all the, you know, movies come out from like the film festivals, the fall film festivals, especially Cannes, which is going to start next month. So I think this is going to be completely lost in the sauce. However, I do think if, you know, the box office results are really big to a point where it's inescapable to kind of put some, you know, thought into the awards potential for this film. At best, I could see, you know, best makeup and hairstyling. Maybe also, I don't know, like a supporting actor nomination for Coleman Domingo, because he is playing a caricature. He's playing a cartoon villain, and he doesn't really have much depth to his character aside from just, you know, shouting and yelling and doing like the 70s father thing where he's just going like, hey, I'm gonna beat your ass, and Michael's just like, oh no, like, don't do it. Yeah, but even then, like, I feel like there's nothing really else to really pull for like awards for this film. And also I would like to add that the young kid who plays younger Michael in this film was really, really great. I think the first 30 minutes of the film does a really good job kind of condensing the Jackson 5 legacy into like 30 minutes, and the young boy does a really good job taking all of that like bare bones basic screenplay and making it feel kind of like full for like that first 30 minutes, and then once they transition to teenage Michael, the film just kind of falls apart, in my opinion. But yeah, man, like that's basically it. I don't really need to say too much about this. I'm sorry that I spilled a lot with, you know, intro and just like my whole take on like the criticisms behind this film and like the controversies and whatnot. But I had to do it. I had to like put all my shit out there. But yeah, man, thank you guys. I will be doing more movie reviews. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Thank you guys. Peace out.